The U.S. is now on heightened alert. Joining me right now is Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts. Kevin, thanks very much for being here this morning. We are waiting to hear from Joe Biden and the White House, but so far there's been a real lack of transparency in terms of what is going on with all of these unidentified objects and spy flights from Communist China. Your thoughts?
Well, Maria, thanks for having me. Those are my thoughts exactly. That is, the common sense that the everyday American has means that they believe the Biden administration's track record on transparency is only marginally better than the track record of Xi Jinping when it comes to transparency. We want to know the answers. You know, our experts at Heritage believe that all of these balloons are not only Chinese, but an orchestrated attempt to get surveillance video, surveillance footage of some of our nuclear capabilities. You and I have talked often over the last several months about the threat that the Chinese Communist Party poses. It's past time not only for an increase in transparency by the president, but also for the United States Congress to establish potentially a war footing against an enemy that we have not confronted up to this point with the level of seriousness that it demands.
I agree with you. I believe these are all Chinese spy flights. But, of course, the White House is not saying anything about these three this weekend. The only thing that they have admitted was that the Chinese spy flight, which was large enough to fit 3 buses in it, was, in fact, from Communist China, and it was, in fact, an intelligence operation where they want to snap images and get information, data about our military installations, our nuclear installations. But, Kevin, I want to get your take on why it would be that this White House is not giving us more information. Now, part of it could be that they're still getting the debris from the ocean from those that have been shot down, and they're analyzing it. But why not explain to the public the true threat that Communist China is? After all, China right now has most favored nation status when it comes to trade with the United States. There's a reason that we have a deficit with regard to what we're selling them versus what they're selling us. Should that be changed? Would the truth out of this White House spark moves to change some policy like that one, most favored nations?
Absolutely. We need to end most favored nation status for the Chinese. We need to understand that they are our enemy of the 21st century, our enemy, our adversary. There's just no seriousness or real seriousness by the Biden administration about it. This is the point, Maria. A lot has to change. We need the United States Congress to end lobbying by Chinese Communist Party lobbying firms in D.C. We need to ban the sale of any land in the United States to the Chinese. We need to end every single Confucius Institute. The time has come for President Biden to lead, and he's not doing it. You know, ultimately, the answer to your question is that on the best day, that this is just the typical Biden slow-footedness, evidenced by that deer in the headlight look that he gave about this balloon. The worst case scenario is that the Biden family office, headquartered in Beijing, has caused this administration to be very compromised and very slow to act.
Yeah, and then of course there's this wide open border. I mean, we're getting attacked from the air with these surveillance breaches as well as from the ground. Kevin, we've seen increasing numbers of Chinese nationals coming through the southern border. They already abuse the visa process, the student visa process, certainly. So why do they need to have Chinese nationals coming through the wide open border? They're paying $35,000 to $50,000 a head to the drug cartels.
It's important that we connect the dots here. Yeah, indeed. It's important that we connect the dots here, Maria, between this orchestrated attack by these balloons, surveillance attack, if you will, and what's going on at the border. I'm going to give you 2 numbers. In December 2021, about 65 Chinese nationals crossed the southern border. 1 year later, December 2022, nearly 1,000. There has been an 800% year-over-year increase in the number of Chinese nationals crossing the southern border. Do you think that's a coincidence? Do you think if you were president of the United States, you would allow that to happen? The time has come for the president of the United States to swear his allegiance to this country rather than to Chinese nationals.
Well, it's why Michael McCall yesterday said that he believes that Joe Biden's response to Communist China has been a betrayal of betrayal to America, is the words that he used. I also spoke with Indiana Congressman Jim Banks yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures discussing these numbers. And here's what he said about the impact on the fentanyl crisis in this country. Watch.
If almost all of the fentanyl that is coming into our country is manufactured in China to begin with, you can only begin to understand the complexity of the strategy of the Chinese Communist Party to interrupt and really destroy America in a significant way. So 800% increase in the number of Chinese nationals apprehended at the border. How many more then are actually entering our border illegally? So this is just it's symbolic of how awful the Biden administration truly is when it comes to holding China accountable and stopping the madness of what they're getting away with.
Kevin, this is all extraordinary. How much more can communist China do to America with no repercussions? I mean, unleashing a deadly virus, COVID-19, from a Wuhan lab, accidental or not, then covering it up, not allowing any investigation into Wuhan. 1 million plus Americans are dead. Theft of intellectual property over decades. Now the surveillance balloons breaching our territory, airspace, and on the ground. And what have we done? What kind of response have we given?
We have
canceling a trip. We canceled Anthony Blinken's trip. That's what we did.
That's it. We've not only done nothing, we've actually aided and abetted the Chinese Communist Party under the Biden administration. Your question was, what more needs to happen? I'm not sure. I can't imagine during the height of the Cold War, Maria, that the United States would even have tolerated 10% of this nonsense from the Soviets. We certainly would not have tolerated that by our adversaries leading up to World War I and World War II. This is the point for Americans across the political spectrum to understand. The Chinese believe they are at war with us. At what point will the President of the United States actually lead us into a war footing with this country, hopefully one that does not spill any American blood, but one that at least leads us through a change in policy, closing the southern border, and shooting down these doggone balloons before they cover American territory? The time has come.
Just extraordinary. Really unbelievable, Kevin. Thanks very much. Kevin Roberts joining us this morning.